Okay, now that we've resolved the baking errors that we had, let's go ahead and create the height stamp information. Now on the back of the controller, if you look at the reference, there is a rectangle and some text back here that is not painted. It's actually, like embossed. So we'll do that through a height stamping technique. And then there are some additional details on the plug, which we will also add through height map. So let's go ahead and do the back of the controller first. And in order to do this, I went ahead and I created my own alpha stamps, and here's one of them, right? And the other one is here for the back. The fonts that I used for that, I downloaded from a free font website. One's called Need Every Sound, and the other one's called Nintend. I will leave a link to those in the description of this video, so you can get it the way you want it. But essentially what we want to do inside of Photoshop is, you should do this on your own so you get the practice, but set up the text, and then you want the text to be in white and the background to be black. So when we import this up as an alpha, white is what Substance Painter will see and use, and black will be sort of negative space. Alright, so to import those, I'm going to click on this little import icon. I'll go to add resources, and I've saved those in my source images folder under this folder alphas textures that I made. I'll select both of them and hit open. I'm going to, where it says undefined, I'm going to change both of these to alpha. Import resources to, I'll say my project, and then I'll hit import. Next, in the layers palette, I'm going to click on this folder, and these will be all my height stamps. And then I will create a new fill layer. There it is. I'm going to drag this into the height stamp folder, and I'll rename this to back rectangle. And then with that layer selected, I'm going to turn everything off except for height. And for now, I'll just turn this way down, this slider, so it's because it's an indentation. Then I'll right click on the layer, add a black mask. And then let's rotate to the back so we can see the back. And then in the brush settings over here, where it says alpha, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to type in rectangle. And let's use this this one right here, shape square squeeze. All right, so right now I'm going to turn the spacing up so I can look at this preview more, and I can use the bracket keys to scale up the size. So right now the rectangle is one is too soft on the edges, and two, it's the incorrect shape. So this needs to be more narrow. If we look at our reference, we could see that. So let's go ahead and adjust this. Hardness, I'm going to turn this all the way up to 1 so it gets rid of the soft edges. And then squeeze, I'm going to turn this down until I get something like this. Let's scale this up a bit. And I'm looking at my reference here, and it looks like the right hand side of the rectangle almost goes to the outer edge of this screw hole here. So, and it's centered along with this middle hole on the left hand side. So something like this. So I'll click there. And now if we move the light, you can see we have an indentation there now, which is exactly what we want. If I feel that indentation is not the correct value, I could always go back to the original layer and play with this slider to increase or decrease the strength of the height information. Alright, that looks good. Next, let's create a new fill layer. This one I'll name back Use camel case back, Nintendo text. And I'll turn everything off, but height again. And this one, it does not push in, it actually goes out. So I'll turn this up pretty high for now. Add a black mask. And where it says alpha, I'm going to go to this Nintendo here, which is what I imported, right? I could always search for it here, but it will be in alphas if I come over here and type in Nintendo. There it is. So I'll click on this and drag it into alpha. See, there it is. And I'm going to use my UVs to make sure I line this up correctly. And it's somewhere around here. It's a little big, something like this. Click there. Next, I'll find the back text, and I'll click and drag it into the alpha. So I have it here. This needs to be smaller, something like that. And I'm just going to look at the controller. So it's tucked in slightly from the N of Nintendo and down a little bit, something like that. So the height value on this is a little too strong, which is why it's looking very, it's got that like thick line. So I'll go back to the layer, and where it says height, I'm just going to pull this down a little bit, something like that. And that looks good. Next, we will work on the plug. All right, so the plug has the word rectangle and a rectangle here on both sides, and it says Nintendo in it, and it had in a similar fashion that we did over here. So I'm going to go through a similar process. So create a new fill layer, and I'll name this plug rectangle. Whoops, no spaces. Turn everything off but height. Turn this way down. Add a black mask. Let's find that rectangle again. There it is. Turn hardness to 1. And we need to squeeze this as well. Something. Just looking at my reference here. It needs to be, it's a little too much. Something like that. That's good for now. We can always try it again. So I'm going to find my UVs for that portion. Here they are. It'll be easier to stamp on the UVs than the model itself. So I just clicked on this right here and see how it's kind of going at an angle. It's because of the way that this has been moved, and we're on tangent wrap. So right here under alignment, I'm going to change this from tangent wrap to UV. Now if I click here, you'll see I get a straight, what I'm expecting. So I want one there, and there's one on the other side too, so I'll put one here as well. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and create another fill layer. This one will be plug Nintendo. Turn off everything but height. Turn the height up a bit. Find the imported Nintendo font. Add a black mask. Drag this over here onto the alpha. Make sure that's on alignment's on UV. And I'm going to scale this up like so. Let's get that a little more centered. That's good. Over here. That's good. And let's take the height. And that's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and let's go back to the plug rectangle and grab this rectangle again, make it hard. And I need to for my UVs, I need to rotate this 90 degrees. And we have three horizontal rectangles on the plug. So I'm going to come over here. One and two and three. Let's get that a little more evenly spaced. That's good. We don't need these to be perfect. And let's do the other side. One and two and three. All right, let's take the alpha and go to the squeeze and make it more of a square, like this. Turn this down. Let's go back to the rotate. Where is that? It's flow angle. And let's scale this down a little. Okay, let's go ahead and create the indentations for the D-pad. I found that the arrow that comes with Substance Painter, you can't quite get this to look correct, so I made my own arrow inside of Photoshop. It essentially looks like a house if it's right side up, and imported it in here, and I'll use that for the arrow. So we're going to go through the same drill. Fill layer, name the fill layer. Oops. Turn everything off but height, decrease the height, add a black mask, and I'm going to put my new arrow here in alpha, make sure it works. I'll go ahead and scale this up. They're quite large and they don't quite touch the edge, so it's going to be something like and that looks pretty good. I could come back here and play with this height more or less, but that's pretty good. Alright, so that wraps up the basic height stamps. We will be doing some normal map height stamping information for the screws, but we're going to do that at a later time. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and start breaking up the controller into its basic materials. I'll see you there.